Good morning, friends, and welcome to the gentle dawn of 1955, where each sunrise held a promise and every housewife carried the rhythm of the home in her hands. Back then, mornings weren't rushed, they were sacred. These forgotten prep routines weren't just about getting ready, they were rituals of love, structure, and self-respect, the secret ingredients that made every day feel purposeful. Picture a quiet suburban neighborhood, the sky painted in soft pink and gold. Inside a cozy cottage, framed with white picket fences, sunlight spills through lace curtains, landing on a freshly polished breakfast table. The faint hum of the Philco radio fills the kitchen with the warmth of yesterday's tunes. The smell of brewed coffee and toasted bread mingles with the calm of dawn. Here, the day begins not in haste, but in harmony. At exactly 6 a.m., the housewife awakens to the gentle tick of her Philco alarm clock. Her first ritual? The sacred early rise. No snooze buttons, no hesitation. She moves with quiet resolve. Her feet touch the cool linoleum floor as she folds back her chenille blankets, smoothing every wrinkle. Studies from 1956 showed that over 85% of housewives rose before 7 a.m. They believed that an early start didn't just organize the day, it set the tone for the soul. Her simple hack for alertness? A brisk splash of cold water across her face, chasing away drowsiness and bringing a healthy glow that even the best creams couldn't match. That quick moment in the mirror wasn't vanity, it was preparation for her role as the heart of the home. Then came wardrobe prep, an act both practical and personal. From her modest yet tidy closet, she'd choose a neatly pressed cotton dress, perhaps with cheerful polka dots or floral patterns. She might pin a delicate brooch to her collar or tie her hair back with a satin ribbon. Each piece carried intention. Many housewives prepared their outfits the night before, a trick used by 65% of women by 1957 to save those precious 10 minutes in the morning rush. But this was more than a time saver. For her, dressing wasn't about impressing others. It was about stepping into her identity with grace and pride. Her apron, tied snugly at the waist, was more than fabric. It was a symbol of readiness, like a badge of quiet strength. Before the household truly awoke, she'd pause for morning prayers, a moment of stillness before the storm. Kneeling by her bedside or sitting at the kitchen table, she'd whisper soft words of gratitude, her voice blending with the ticking clock. In a decade where faith anchored many homes, about 80% of 1950s families began their day with some form of devotion. This simple ritual gave her balance, a grounding that turned chores into acts of love. Whether she recited a psalm or simply gave thanks for her blessings, this was her spiritual reset button, aligning her heart before she tended to everyone else's. Next came her task list, the map that turned chaos into calm. Over a steaming cup of tea, she'd pull out a small notepad, edges frayed, pages filled with careful handwriting. She'd jot down meals to prepare, errands to run, laundry to fold, perhaps a reminder of a church social or a neighborly visit. By 1958, around 70% of housewives followed this habit, using handwritten lists to keep life in order. Each task checked off was a small victory, a rhythm that made her feel in control of her world. Together, these morning rituals, rising early, dressing with care, praying softly, and planning wisely, formed the invisible backbone of her day. Studies show 1950s housewives spent 6 to 8 hours daily maintaining routines like these. Yet within that structure, they found serenity. Every act, no matter how small, was a note in a symphony of love, devotion, and discipline. So as we look back today, these forgotten rituals remind us that true beauty lies in intention. Imagine her now, standing by the kitchen window, tea in hand, watching the sun spill across her tidy yard. To her, it wasn't just a routine. It was a legacy, a way of saying, this home matters. This moment matters. Let's borrow a page from her book and bring back a little of that mid-century magic, one mindful morning at a time. Step into the bustling mid-morning of 1955, where sunlight streamed through spotless windows and the gentle hum of a washing machine played like background music to a perfectly choreographed day. By 9 a.m., the modern housewife of the era was already deep into her rhythm, a graceful conductor of her household symphony. To her, chores weren't just duties, they were opportunities to bring order, comfort, and a little sparkle into everyday life. These weren't just habits, they were the hidden hacks of a generation that turned the ordinary into art. Her day began with the steady whir of her Hoover vacuum, a loyal companion in the battle against dust. The bulky machine rumbled across floral rugs as she moved with practiced ease. Her secret weapon? A sprinkle of baking soda before she began. The powder absorbed odors and lifted dirt, an old 1956 good housekeeping trick that nearly 60% of housewives swore by. As she worked, the soft voice of Frank Sinatra drifted from the radio, turning the room into her stage. Each pass of the vacuum wasn't just cleaning, it was choreography, a rhythmic routine that made her home feel alive. The air smelled faintly of lemon polish and freshness, proof of her subtle efficiency. When the floors gleamed and the rugs fluffed, she moved into the kitchen, where the next challenge awaited, the endless mountain of dishes. Without the convenience of dishwashers, every meal meant a sink filled with work. But she had a hack for that, too. She'd fill the basin with steaming, soapy water and add just a splash of ammonia, a 1955 trick known to cut through grease faster than anything else. Nearly 70% of homes followed this method, turning tedious scrubbing into a quick, sparkling success. As bubbles rose and steam clouded the window pane, she hummed along to the radio, her hands moving gracefully, turning labor into rhythm. The satisfaction of stacking perfectly clean melamine plates wasn't about perfection, it was about pride. Every glimmering surface reflected her care and consistency, the heartbeats of a tidy home. Next came one of her most cherished mid-morning rituals, mending clothes. In an age before fast fashion, every stitch carried value. Sitting by a sun-drenched window, she'd open her wooden sewing basket, its compartments neatly arranged with colorful spools of thread, thimbles, and spare buttons. Her secret was always keeping the basket ready to go, so no time was wasted searching for supplies. By 1957, around 65% of housewives mended daily, preserving garments instead of replacing them. With each patch on a sock or hem on a skirt, she wasn't just repairing fabric, she was preserving stories, a child's favorite jumper, a husband's worn shirt, or a Sunday dress. Each thread was woven with memory and care. This was her quiet artistry, where patience met creativity. To keep her energy steady, she followed a final clever principle: task rotation. Instead of exhausting herself with one endless job, she'd move in short, focused bursts, from vacuuming to dishes, from sewing to dusting. This method, practiced by 80% of women in 1958, was the secret to sustaining momentum. It kept the body active, the mind fresh, and the mood high. By the time the clock struck noon, her home gleamed, her chores were balanced, and her spirit remained light. She'd pour herself a small cup of coffee, maybe nibble on a biscuit, and take a quiet moment by the window to admire her handiwork. Each completed task was a small triumph, a reflection of resourcefulness and pride in a simpler era. In the 1950s, women spent roughly 4 hours a day maintaining their homes, yet many found deep satisfaction in the process. The baking soda hack kept the air fresh, ammonia made cleaning faster, mending preserved love, and rotation kept her pace steady. Together, they formed the backbone of a lifestyle built on purpose and grace. So, as we look back on these mid-morning secrets, we're reminded that efficiency and joy can still coexist. These forgotten routines were never just about cleanliness. They were about care, rhythm, and pride in the simple things. Imagine her now, apron tied, curls pinned, sunlight tracing her silhouette as she moves through her gleaming kitchen. Every motion intentional, every moment earned. Her world may have been small by today's standards, but within it, she found meaning in mastery. Step into the soft afternoon glow of 1955, where the hum of daily life carried a rhythm all its own. Outside, the cicadas sang in the summer heat, and the air was heavy with the scent of freshly cut grass. Inside, a 1950s housewife moved gracefully through her cozy home, her apron tied, her smile gentle, her spirit steady. By noon, her day was already half spent, yet her energy remained calm and measured. These golden hours weren't just about keeping busy. They were about balance. She was the quiet conductor of a home that thrived on structure and love. Her first ritual of the afternoon was lunch prep, a moment that blended practicality with heart. With her children returning from school, the kitchen became the center of activity. The soft rustle of paper lunch bags and the clink of dishes filled the air. She'd prepare tuna salad sandwiches on slices of Wonder Bread, adding crisp lettuce and a hint of relish for flavor. To make the meal cheerful, she'd pour Tang orange drink into pastel cups, a treat that sparkled like sunshine in a glass. Her clever time-saving trick? Pre-chopping the celery, onions, and pickles earlier that morning. A vintage hack that 70% of housewives practiced by 1956, saving up to 15 precious minutes during the lunch rush. It wasn't just about feeding hungry kids. It was about creating a moment of connection, served with care and consistency. Every plate she set down carried love disguised as routine. Once lunch was over and laughter filled the kitchen, she shifted into her next rhythm, kid management. This was her secret art of multitasking. While the children played hopscotch in the driveway or skipped rope under the afternoon sun, she'd sneak in small acts of order, sorting laundry, checking homework, or stitching a torn backpack strap. Her best-kept trick? Setting up a play corner indoors, stocked with crayons, paper, and a few well-loved toys. This clever strategy, used by 65% of mothers in 1958, allowed her to keep an eye on her children while maintaining a sense of calm productivity. The home buzzed with life, but it never felt chaotic. She had mastered the balance between watchful parenting and efficient homemaking, a skill that made her household hum with harmony. By 2 p.m., the day began to slow, and she allowed herself a quiet pause, the quick break ritual. It was not indulgence, it was recovery. She'd put the kettle on, already pre-filled, of course, her secret to instant comfort, and pour a small cup of coffee or tea. This simple act, practiced by 60% of 1950s housewives, was a stolen moment of serenity amid the day's whirlwind. Sometimes she'd flip through the pages of Ladies' Home Journal or a Sears catalog, circling things she dreamed of. New curtains, a dress pattern, maybe a pie dish for Sunday baking. The radio hummed softly in the background, perhaps a Doris Day tune or an afternoon news bulletin. In that gentle silence, she recharged, readying herself for the next stretch of the day. When her cup was empty, she rose once more for the home touch-up ritual, those small finishing gestures that transformed a house into a haven. She'd fluff the couch pillows, straighten picture frames, or water the windowsill plants basking in the sun. Her secret hack was simple but effective, keeping a damp cloth nearby for quick dust wipes, a trick inspired by 1950s homemaking magazines that saved countless minutes. These gestures might seem small, but to her they were acts of pride. They breathed warmth into the home, ensuring that when her husband returned later, everything felt peaceful and inviting. In truth, these afternoon rituals, lunch prep, childcare, brief rest, and home touch-ups were the heartbeat of her day, Together they wove a seamless tapestry of rhythm and care. The tuna sandwiches fueled laughter. The play corner fostered creativity. The coffee pause renewed her spirit, and the tidy home reflected her devotion. The average 1950s housewife spent around 4 hours daily balancing family needs and household upkeep. Yet within those hours, she discovered something profound: joy in the details. Her methods weren't about perfection, they were about presence. Picture her now slicing bread while sunlight dances across the countertop, children's giggles drifting through the open window. Her routines weren't chores, they were expressions of love, the small, steady rituals that gave her home its soul. So as we look back, these mid-century secrets remind us to find beauty in the simple and rhythm in the routine. Maybe it's time to bring back a little of that mindful magic, to pause, to care, to savor. As the sun dipped below the horizon in 1955, the golden day softened into twilight. The air cooled, carrying the faint scent of lilacs through open windows. Porch lights flickered on down quiet suburban streets, and the hum of distant radios mingled with the chirping of crickets. Inside, the 1950s housewife moved with a calm precision born of habit and heart. Her day was nearly done, yet her devotion continued, each small act infused with love, each ritual closing the chapter of another perfectly ordinary, perfectly beautiful day. Her first evening ritual was supper prep, a sacred transition from the busyness of day to the warmth of family time. By 5 p.m., the kitchen filled with the rich aromas of roasting chicken, simmering green beans from the backyard garden, and freshly baked biscuits cooling on the counter. Her secret? Pre-seasoning the meat in the morning, a clever hack used by 70% of housewives in 1956 to save 20 minutes during the dinner rush. This simple trick freed her to set the table with cloth napkins and polished silverware, making even an everyday meal feel like a small celebration. Her kitchen glowed under the soft light of a hanging lamp, and the radio played softly, perhaps Terry Como or Doris Day, serenading her through the final steps. Each stir of the spoon, each fold of the napkin was an act of care. She wasn't just feeding her family, she was nurturing them, weaving connection through flavor and familiarity. A 1958 Gallup poll revealed that 85% of families dined together nightly, a tradition she helped preserve. Around that table, laughter mingled with the clink of forks, and conversations about the day became the soundtrack of home. After dishes were washed and counters wiped down, the next ritual began: family time, the true heart of her evening. The television might stay dark for now. Instead, the family gathered in the living room beneath the warm glow of a standing lamp. She'd bring out board games like Scrabble or Parcheesi, her favorite tool for togetherness. A 1957 survey showed that 65% of households made game nights a weekly or nightly tradition. To outsiders, it was just fun. To her, it was something deeper, a chance to bond, laugh, and build memories that stitched her family closer together. She'd smile as her children debated over words or teased their father for miscounting points. These weren't grand gestures, they were humble joys, the kind that filled a home with meaning. Every laugh, every glance across the table was a quiet affirmation: we are together, and that is enough. As the night deepened, the next ritual unfolded, the tuck-in routine, her tender moment of love and calm. By 8 p.m., the house dimmed to the soft glow of bedside lamps. She'd sit at the edge of each child's bed, reading from little golden books, her voice soft and rhythmic, carrying the magic of make-believe through the still air. Her secret? Adding a personal story at the end, a tiny extra chapter spun from her imagination. By 1958, around 80% of mothers added their own storytelling touches, turning bedtime into something unforgettable. Sometimes it was a tale about kindness or a whimsical dream. Other nights it was a story about her own childhood. The children listened, sleepy-eyed, their world safe and still. When she kissed their foreheads goodnight, she left behind more than comfort. She left security, a memory that would last for decades. Finally, with the house quiet and the moon rising high, she entered her last ritual, the quiet wind-down. In a lamplit corner, she'd sit with a cup of tea or cocoa, perhaps knitting or leafing through a lady's home journal. Her secret was practical yet peaceful, keeping a basket of yarn, books, or a journal nearby, ready for her nightly unwind. Around 60% of housewives by 1959 practiced this habit, a subtle form of self-care long before the term existed. This was her time to breathe, reflect, and find calm before the next day began. Sometimes she'd jot down a recipe idea, note a family moment, or plan tomorrow's meals. Other nights, she simply stared out the window, the world outside still and serene. These evening rituals, supper, family time, tucking in, winding down, were the threads that tied her day together. In the 1950s, housewives spent about 3 hours each night tending to these final tasks, yet they found deep joy in their rhythm. Supper fueled togetherness, games built connection, bedtime stories sealed love, and quiet reflection restored her spirit. Picture her now, setting the table under golden light, children's laughter echoing from the hallway, a gentle breeze rustling lace curtains. Her world glowed with intention, a living symphony of love, order, and grace. These forgotten routines remind us to slow down, to cherish the small transitions that close our days with meaning. Her evenings weren't perfect, but they were peaceful, full of purpose and presence. Which 1950s evening ritual would you revive to bring harmony to your nights? Share your thoughts below, give this video a like, and subscribe for more nostalgic glimpses into the timeless beauty of vintage life.